Hey everybody, welcome to How to Be Mesmerizing. It's Tim Shurr, and we have another extraordinary personal development legend in the house. Michael Norton is with us. Michael, welcome to the program.
Tim, it's really an honor, and again, I'm humbled to be here. Really, truly an honor.
Well, right back at you. This is really an extraordinary treat to work with you. So Michael is the definition of an entrepreneur who thinks big, who surrounds himself with extraordinary people, which has caused him to become extraordinary and mesmerizing himself. So I could talk the whole time about what he's been able to accomplish, which is mind-blowing. But he is the executive vice president of XINNIX, and he is also the founder of Tramazing, which are two really high-end, top-notch personal development training companies. And before that, he served as vice president of sales and president of Zig Ziglar Corporation, and also was the executive vice president of Sandler Global Accounts. So he's been affiliated with Sandler and Ziglar, which it doesn't get any better than that. So just so many things that you've accomplished, Michael. So out of all the experience that you've had, what is something that maybe you started out believing and you still believe today is like the best advice that you can share for people?
Wow, the best advice that I can give anybody. When you're an entrepreneur, I think one of the things that I point back to is just the motivational piece. I think a lot of people get caught up on the hard skills that they need to be able to go and pitch to an investment group or to a potential partner. And there are certain skills and there are certain things you need to be able to do and talk about financials and read spreadsheets. But what most entrepreneurs need to have is that heart and that passion and that motivation to go out every single day. Because when you're starting out, you're going to have long days and long nights. And when you live, eat, breathe, sleep what you do, because in your heart of hearts, you're going to change somebody's life based on your business, the people who work in your organization, your clients' clients. So to have that motivation every day to go out and follow your passion was the best guidance. When you have Zig Ziglar whispering in your ear in your car while you're driving around, or on your in your ears on an airplane, it's easy to pick up that motivation.
Yeah, I mean, that's extraordinary. I had that kind of through his cassette tapes, back in the day. And yeah, I felt like they were all my best friends, all these people that I had never met, because I just listened to their programs obsessively. And until I got the opportunity to meet them, which was amazing. I got a picture of Zig Ziglar sitting there, him and Wayne Dyer, and just I look over at that. I see them every day, and I think about how what a privilege it was to meet them and also to learn from them. And now you're taking that wisdom that you've shared and you continue to get it out into the world, and for everybody that's ready for it. So pretty amazing experiences.
Yeah. Blessing, truly.
Yeah. So, you've worked with some huge training companies. What is it that these huge training companies seem to do or seem to possess that that smaller companies or individuals don't? What's made Sandler or what's made Ziglar just stand out so high, so far above the rest?
Yeah, well, I think those are two really great examples and two businesses that went about it differently. So kudos to both of them. And I've got a great picture on my wall also. I never got to meet David Sandler, the founder of Sandler. He had passed away before I joined the organization, but there's a great picture of him hanging up in the Sandler offices, and I have a picture right next to it. And I took that picture and put it next to my picture with me and Zig. So it's like two idols for me that really shaped it. But what happened with them is, if you think about the trajectory of what they did with their business, Zig was the solopreneur. It was Zig. Zig was the name. He was the talent. Even though we groomed tons of trainers underneath us and developed them, and they went out and they did the message, the company was Zig Ziglar.
Yeah.
And he would have been the first one to tell you, if you listen to his tapes, he probably did his first 10, 15, 25 talks for free. And then it was, $500, and then $1,500, and then $10,000. When he was done, he was getting $100,000 for a talk.
Wow.
And it was all about Zig and his message, and he was a superstar, one of the founding fathers of the industry. Where David Sandler went out and he did the same thing. He found what worked. He developed an actual selling system, but he was really way ahead of his time with a lot of his thinking. I mean, a lot of people point to, when you talk about a pain funnel or talking about pain first, and right after that, talking about money. He got things that were so far ahead, reversing people. The techniques were incredible. But when it came to building his business, the smartest thing he did was build the franchise network. It wasn't just David Sandler. At some point, we had almost 300 franchises around the globe, and over 500 trainers attached to that, to those things. But what I would say made the two of them iconic, and why they're still around today, and why people still talk about them, is they stayed core to the system that they developed. When Zig has his 5 core philosophies, that it didn't matter if it was personal development or sales training, presentation skills, leadership or management, healthy self-image, developing and maintaining a positive attitude, building winning relationships, setting and achieving goals, not just how to set goals, but how to achieve them, and how to use hope as an activator. It might not be a strategy, but hope is the foundational quality of all successful change. Everything we did was built around those 5 core values, those 5 core things. Sandler had a selling system. It didn't matter if people had gone through it 1 year, 2 year, 5 years, 10 years. And they'd say, well, what's next? And he'd say, no, it's not what's next. Get really good at those 7 steps. Get really, really good at those 7 steps. Own that core content. And that was, drilled it into the franchisees, all the corporate trainers, all the people who worked on my team, and they didn't deviate. They stayed true to what their message was and what their content was. And that's key for any industry, not just the performance development industry, but any industry. Right?
Yeah. Before we went live, we were talking about how people a lot of times feel like they need something new all the time, something new. And you had some advice for that.
Yeah. Having done this and been around it for, I'm going to date myself here, Tim, 3 decades of doing this and being around the greats of the greats, not just Zig and Sandler, but Tommy Hopkins and Brian Tracy and Dennis Waitley, Jim Cathcart, just so many great big companies and names, and all the folks at Corporate Visions and Rain Group, and you name it. I've got to interact with almost everybody. And when people look for in this industry, I'd go out with a sales rep or go out and meet with a prospect or client, and they'd say, okay, well, what's new, Michael? What's the new thing? And when you think about innovation and technology, everybody wants to talk about that. When you think about innovation, even in learning enablement technology, great stuff that we should talk about. And there's tons of great companies. They'd say, but what's new? Like, what are you going to teach that's new? And I would tell them flat out, listen, it's not what's new that works. It's what works that works. And there are some timeless principles. Qualifying never is wrong, right? To learn how to qualify the right way. Know when to present, not just how to present, right? What is the timing of your presentation? How are you closing? How are you negotiating? There's things that we've been taught 20, 30, 35 years ago that still work because they're truths. And here's the deal, Tim, like why they worked, and why did Zig Ziglar work, and why did Tommy Hopkins work, and why did Brian Tracy work? It wasn't manipulative. It was, how do you get to, and David Sandler, I think, brought this into a whole new dimension. How do you have an adult-to-adult truth-based conversation with somebody, not manipulation, right? And those tried and true principles of building trust, because people will do business with people the saying is people will talk to people they like, but they'll do business with people they trust. So how do you have a conversation with somebody where they trust you, respect you, and like you?
Yeah.
Right? It's not manipulative. It's just this really great conversation. So those tried and true principles, timeless, that the grandfathers of the industry taught us, they still work today.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, exactly right. That's why, we are so excited about bringing legends together, whether it's my Legend Summit or the work that you're doing with XINNIX. And so it's just a matter of bottling up this incredible information that's timeless, wisdom of the ages, and then just getting it out to people. Because, there are so many people in the world who would like to grow a business or become more independent, financially independent, or think about being an entrepreneur. And they've never heard of they've never heard of Zig Ziglar, which to me is shocking, but, or a Tony Robbins, or, anybody like that, or a Brian Tracy. And so, although I will say that Mark Victor Hansen one time told me, he said, I have the best kind of celebrity, because when I walk in the conference room, everybody wants me to sign the book. But when I get on the plane, nobody knows who I am.
It's so true. I'll tell you a funny story, Tim. I'm working with a client right now in the private jet aviation business. And they have a young woman who's a superstar in the organization. She's just very early 30s.
Yeah.
And when I was introduced to the ownership of the company and we walked into the conference room, and we were there to talk about their sales strategy going forward and their performance development. And when they introduced him, they said Zig Ziglar. She was like, Zig Ziglar? I listen to him every day in my car. I mean, here's somebody who's just 30 years old and and she knew it. She was rattling off some of his content. So I think what we're going to see with the Zig Ziglars of the world and the Tommy Hopkins and the legends that you're bringing, I applaud you for this. This initiative is just phenomenal. And to bring back those legends, I think we're going to, because here's the thing, our younger folks today, they're looking for content on their phones. They're looking for instant access to information. Yep. They're looking for those quick hitters. They're the DIY stuff, the how-to, the big processes. We want to teach people the why behind the what, but our learners today want to know that what right away, and then kind of go back and understand the why behind it. But just in time moments, there's nobody better than those legends that you're bringing together that had that just in time. Give me that motivational hit right now. Give me that how to overcome the price objection. Give me how to organize my day. I'm a little overwhelmed right now.
Yeah.
I think the body of work that all of those guys and gals have done is going to be just, I think you're going to see a resurgence of it.
Yeah. It's amazing. We have captured magic in a bottle, especially with the legends that I've been able to bring together with the first summit, and then, which was just mind blowing that we pulled that off. Usually you have one or two headliners. All 16 were headliners. It was nuts. And then the second one we did again with Ken Blanchard, and that was a lot of fun. And now we're doing this one with Michael Norton, which everybody is freaking out excited. So it's going to be
Ken Blanchard, another name that I love. I mean, I talk about that guy all the time, man. That's another legend for sure.
Yeah. So many extraordinary people. And what's fun is that we get to watch them have conversations. Right? Because you can get on YouTube or you can find any other online summit and people are doing their 30-minute presentations. Right? So I was literally just on with Michael Gerber an hour ago, and he went in and he just pretty much did a presentation for our conversation. And so what I wanted to do is bring two amazing people together and have them chat. And this is what I would do, and this is what you would do, and this is what we would do in these situations. And that is so cool. To watch people do that. Our first one was Brian Tracy and Les Brown, and to watch them, have that kind of conversation, or Bob Proctor and Dennis Waitley, to sit there and have a conversation and trade ideas. And we kind of get to be a fly on the wall and watch that. That was just amazing. So, I'm super excited about the conversation that you and Tom Hopkins are going to have. Or Tommy, as you call him, because you're much cooler than I am.
Just known him for 3+ decades. So
yeah, that's awesome. That's so good.
So Tom, it's interesting because probably back in the late 80s was the first time I was introduced to him. So a long, long time ago. So I became a student, went to seminars, went to his boot camp, Sales Mastery, listened to the cassettes in my car, bought them, stood in line to get my picture taken. He had no idea who I was. And then in 1998, we became business partners when I started my first company around personal and professional development. Wow. So I've got to enjoy this journey as a student, a fan, a big, disciple, apostle almost, where I was applying everything that he was teaching me, and then to be a business partner with him. And, then became, really good friend, golf partner and golf buddy, and just, we just did a whole summer series together of webinars. It's really, I pinch myself, as I told you before we got on the call today. I've had this blessing to be around these great folks, and you're going to have another one, I think, that's on the same one, Tom Ziglar, right?
Yeah.
You think about Tom Ziglar, the son of Zig Ziglar.
Yeah.
Tom's first book, Choose to Win, and I buy it by the case and I give them out to people because I think it's that transformative for people to go through on how to achieve success. And now he's coming up with his next book, right, which is just about to come out. And so Tom is one of the only, when you look at the history of family behind the authors and experts and legends, he's not just living on what his dad wrote and what his dad did. He is his own genius in his own right. And his book, Choose to Win, if you really want to how to succeed and succeed faster and what you need to do every day to do that, that is a true how-to book that, and when I'm talking to somebody who says, I need to make a difference in my life, I'm like, give me your address. I'm going to ship you this book. I'm going to send you this book. If I'm on an airplane, I usually take 2 or 3 with me because I know I'm going to wind up giving them out. I think that highly of that book.
Yeah. Wow. That's amazing. Yeah, that's very exciting. Yeah, Tom was a part of our second Luncheon Summit, and it was, I mean, he was amazing, right? So you're right. Sometimes the children of legends will try to step into that shadow, and it doesn't always go so well. But Tom has held his own, and so he's done an amazing job of keeping that legacy going and going through the certification programs. And the friends that I have that are a part of that association and or that organization, they love Tom as much as they love Zig, you know. And so, yeah,
Well, I'll tell you one more thing about Tom is that he's probably the most well-read guy I've ever met. I read a lot of books, but he will put me to shame. He's the most thoughtful guy. He took me forever when we first met. We started working together. Also back in, I've known Tom Ziglar and Zig since 1998. Again, super fan of his growing up. The same thing like with Hopkins. But it took me the longest time working with Tom because I would give him all these ideas. I'd bring my passion, I'm so excited about this, Tom. And he would just deadpan stare at me for the longest time. I'd walk out of his office thinking like I offended him or it was the stupidest idea it must have been. And it took me a long time to figure out he processes. He's not going to just speak from the hip. He gives every response. He's the most thoughtful guy I've ever known. So he's smart. You mentioned Michael Gerber. He would quote Michael Gerber to me for years. He's Seth Godin, Dave Ramsey. He'll all of the legends. He's probably the most well-read guy I've ever met.
Yeah. Amazing. Wow. So, well, let me ask you this, because I know we don't have much time left, but I do want to ask you, you've worked with a lot of entrepreneurs, and, I spend most of my time helping entrepreneurs believe in themselves to get past the fears of not being good enough or getting past imposter syndrome. And one of the things that I have learned that's been very clear is that people do have, as Les Brown would say, they have greatness inside of them, and they know it, they can feel it, but they have a hard time getting past the fear. It's like there's an invisible block that gets in their way. You've been helping people that have been in that situation for 3 decades. So what would you want someone to know who feels like they have that value inside of them, but they're just not sure how to get past those blocks? What tip or advice would you give them?
Yeah, so, and that is one of the things that I do speak on. I've been asked to speak, and I'll go do keynotes for entrepreneurs, for sales teams, because, whether it's prospecting or going to find a channel partner or, starting your business, fear creeps into everybody's mind.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all about the at-bats. It's, the first one is hard. The second one might be hard. The third one gets a little easier. The fourth one gets even easier. You just have to, as cliche as it sounds from Nike, just do it. You have to, if you have that belief in your heart that this is something you could do. And again, you don't build something to make money. You build something to solve a problem. The money is going to follow. If you are starting a company because you realize there's a gap in the marketplace that you want to fix or need to fix, and you own it in your heart and in your head, and there's nothing that's going to stop you. There should be nothing that stops you from picking up the phone to go do this. And I could share a quick story with you about what this might sound like in real life, because it was my story and it's something I did.
Mm-hmm.
So when we first started, I started my first .com company in 1998. And I had Zig Ziglar, Tom Hopkins, Dennis Waitley. I had all the big guys. We were coming together to aggregate content online. We wanted, like at the time, there was a lot of celebrities around .coms. Muhammad Ali at WebMD and William Shatner, for Priceline, right? So everybody was getting these big superstars, and we said, who makes the most sense for us as a superstar? And at that time, there was no bigger athlete than Cal Ripken Jr., who was breaking Lou Gehrig's record, shattering Lou Gehrig's record, about to retire, but Iron Man of baseball. And we thought him because we said, you can give people all the sales training in the world, all the motivation, all the management training, all the coaching, all the technology and tools, but if they don't go to work every single day, it means nothing. And who represented going to work every single day better than that guy at the time, right? So we had a board meeting, and somebody said, well, I know this pro golfer, I know his agent, let me call him, and we'll get to Cal's agent, and we'll figure out just if we can have a conversation. Well, a couple months into this, we're in another board meeting, and I'm like, all right, where are we with Cal? And people were like, man, hit walls. I picked up the speakerphone in the conference room, and I dialed the 800 number of the Baltimore Orioles. And I got a young woman. I told her, it's Michael Norton, CEO of SalesRepsOnline.com. Want to talk to Cal Ripken about being a spokescoach. Oh, yeah, you know, we get that call. You have to call his PR firm, and it's this other, gives me the name of the PR firm. I hung up, dialed the PR firm. Hey, another young woman, Michael Norton, CEO and founder, blah, blah, blah. Oh, yeah, no, that's not who you want to talk to, but let me get our, you know, the managing partner here. He comes on the phone. I tell him, he says, yeah, no, we don't do anything until his agent blesses it. You got to call, you know, and he gives me the agent's name and the number. I hang up the phone, I call, and I get another young woman, and she goes, yes, I'm sorry, you know, because at that time, Cal was doing Budweiser, Century 21, like Coca. He had all these big brands, and we're like this small little .com. And she said, send a one-page fax and a one-page cover letter proposal. That's it. He's traveling. He's with his agent. We'll get it to him as soon as we get it. If they call you back, good luck. You know, if not, just, you know, sorry. I went, I typed it up, shared it with the board about what we would be willing to offer, sent it off in the fax. And I walk into my house that night, Tim, and I was getting home that night, you know, most nights around 6:30, 7 o'clock. My wife is on my kitchen phone still with the cord. It's not a cordless. It's not the phone that's hanging on the kitchen wall. And she's like, Cal Ripken Jr.'s agent is on the telephone, because I gave him like every number, how to get in touch with me.
Wow.
I take the phone. I'm like, you know, this is Michael. And he's like, hey, Michael, it's, you know, his agent's name. I'm sitting here with Cal. We're at the Phoenix Suns game. You know, that was maybe the nicest letter we've ever seen. When can be in Baltimore to talk to us? And I'm like, when would you like me in Baltimore? And my team and I flew out to Baltimore. We spent the entire day with them, and we walked out with Cal Ripken Jr. as our spokesperson.
Wow, that's
so
awesome.
And we knew his message was going to resonate with all of the legends, the Zig Ziglars, the Tommy Hobbits, the Dennis Whateleys. Were giving everybody everything. But if you believe, I believed that he would be the best fit for us, and there was nothing that was going to stop me from making that phone call. Mm-hmm. So that's what I would tell entrepreneurs: don't let anything stop you. If you believe in your heart, if you truly believe in your heart of hearts, you can make a difference, because we're all here on this planet to be a difference maker. That's our mission.
Yeah.
Don't fear, you know, Zig, what does Zig say about fear? FEAR, false evidence appearing real.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. You got to turn it into feeling excited and ready.
That's right. I love those.
Yeah. Oh, that is a fantastic story. And it wasn't just one phone call. You made one and then another and then another, and you kept following the clues until, you know, you had your opportunity, and then you had to write the proposal and you had to send it, right? Yeah. And I feel like it's a test. If you go through these tests, you get the reward. But most people don't go through the tests. You know, they just don't. As soon as there's an obstacle, they're like, oh, it's not going to work out. And you just kept doing it anyway. You know, you were a man on a mission.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. That was amazing. So, Michael, I'm so excited that you're going to be with us for our Legend Summit in October 9th. And it's just going to be amazing. You and Tom Hopkins and all our other amazing legends. This has been such a fun, informative, and mesmerizing conversation. I really appreciate your time today. And thanks for all that you've done and how much you've been able to add value to our world. So thanks for being on the show today.
Again, humbled and honored. Thank you for having me so much.
Yeah, and we'll see you we'll see everybody. We'll see you on the 9th, and we'll see everybody there. Thanks, guys.
Right.
Thanks, Michael.